what's up, guys? How's it going? It's been a while. I know. I look good. So, what happened years ago? Well, let me come clean with you guys. I hate children. Actually, let's remove that. That's gonna be bad for ads. I love kids and I love people, and I want. Here's the story of how me and my sisters became oligarchs in Webkinz. So the first thing you need to know is what in the world is Webkinz. Webkinz is a little game for kids, okay? I got in the background here. It's a game where you basically buy a toy pet in real life for either $15, $30, or $60, and then you get a code with that toy, and it permits you to activate him in-game, and you have that pet for a whole year in IRL. So you can use that pet, you can go here, you can do there, you can do little activities, you can interact with other characters all around the place, and with other players. And it permits you to build your own house and get your own items, all that stuff. When you buy a pet that is $15, what happens is you also get a uncommon item. Now, these uncommon items are not items you can find in the regular store. You can't buy them, so they're a little bit rare. You know, they're special, but they're not that special. They're a little bit common. If you buy a $30 pet, you get a rare item. Now, the rare items are really cool looking, and you know, people really want these. And then, if you are bloody rich, you buy a cheap plush toy for $60 because you know that in game it'll give you a better item and a more OP character. Well, it looks, there's no real competition, but it looks cooler. So because of that, you get a legendary item. Now the legendary items are huge. They encompass everything, and they really look great in the game, but the game looks like crap. Just putting it out there. Even years ago, that game looked like bloody crap. And the toys looked like bloody crap. But my sisters thought they were cute, and they started playing the game. They both got one for 15 or 30, and I was just like, forget it, I'm a real gamer, I play first person shooters, yeah. And then I turned around, and after a little while I saw that there were interesting things with this game. To get a legendary or rare item, or even an uncommon item that you couldn't buy in the store, there were only two ways. Either you could buy the pet, or you could trade in-game. So here is where we set up the operation. We had two computers where my sisters were both sitting, and I was running between them, orchestrating the corporation, and it was a bloody freaking blast. Okay, basically what happened is that I realized, and so did my sisters, that we could trade items to get other items in game, but you could also trade these rare or uncommon items. So both my sisters, what we did is we had one main account, the trade account. So we would trade all the good stuff to one account, and then we'd trade some stuff back so that the other person could have something to trade with. But you know, everything was centralized, so we had one base of operations. Okay, and here, remember again, we're talking about a kids game. We were a little bit psycho, okay? So we had the items, the main account was for the massive trades. What would happen is we'd start off with each an uncommon item, or even a rare item depending. And we would go up to somebody, and we wanted to trade our items, and we wanted to trade them to get better items. Either items that were easier to trade, so it's equivalent value, equivalent rarity, except one of them people catch a lot more. Let's say it's a tiny bit more uncommon or whatever, but people really want that one more, so it's easier to trade with, or it's worth more. So for instance, instead of being uncommon, it's rare, or even legendary if possible. So we would go up to people that had items, and we'd show them our most valuable item right off the bat. I mean, no messing around here. I mean, I read The Art of the Deal. I know how to do things right. Boom! I got the biggest trade. There we go. Then the person, if was interested, typically the kids would get really interested, especially when we started getting higher up. We'd show legendary items. We'd show like 3 legendary items in a row. The kid was freaking out. Back home, he was screaming. His mother was like, what is he doing on Minecraft again? It was really wild because kids would start running after us and kept on trying to spam us to trade. But before that, so we'd come up with a smaller item because we didn't have any good items at first. we'd come up with a small item and we'd present it to the person. That was our best item. And the person would respond with their best item. And then we would want to do a trade. We'd get ready to do the trade, click yes, and then we'd come to click the final yes. And then we'd remove our item and we'd exchange it with another one. So the kid would click yes to trading a rare or uncommon item with a item that you could buy in the store. So we would get around with a lot of things. That would work, or sometimes it wouldn't work, and we got more sophisticated, we got smarter, because in the catalog, because it was a store, the catalog was massive, so we had a few hundred items. In the back of the catalog, you could get this massive cannon, which was like for 100 coins. 100 coins is still a pretty expensive item in-game. The 100 coin cannon wasn't rare. Obviously, you could buy it in the store, but it looked rare. And there were no identifiers. This isn't CSGO where you get this shiny skin. No, it looked rare, but there was nothing to identify it as not being rare unless the person went in the back end of the catalog through the hundreds of items and found it and saw this not rare. Anyways, we would trade this item for rare items because people thought it was rare. And they may not even have realized it and maybe continued trading off with some stupid item that was... it wasn't really worth it. If you would take these items that were traded and you would sell them back, the most uncommon ones were worth 300 in the store. You could sell it back and you could make 300. So even if we trade a 100 for a 300, if we traded it like that and then we sold it, we can make 200 coins right off the bat, which was really lucrative. Or we would use those items and once again upscale. So we maybe trade 2 uncommon items for 1 rare item and we'd make a lot of great trades. Ultimately, our operations were beyond belief. In our house, okay, our house was massive. Each zone cost thousands of coins to upgrade, and we had like 7 zones, and they were packed to the brim with rare, uncommon, and legendary items. I'm talking about we had maybe 7, 8 massive legendary items, and they would fill these rooms up like wild. We would bring people sometimes to see our house and they would freak out. They would try to trade with us. They're like, I don't know what you're doing, but I want this stuff. We became oligarchs in this world and we would destroy. It was insane because people wanted to trade with us so bad. And then we do a little switch as they were all bought under the emotion, and we do a little switch they wouldn't realize, and they would trade for useless clothes. Sometimes kids would literally trade rare items for clothes that you could buy for 20 coins in game. It was ridiculous. So let me get into how rich we were actually. If we took all the stats into effect, this is actually how rich we were. If we took the about 60 coins you could do per hour of grinding. Let's say we took one of the easier games for grinding, Cash Cows. But it was the greatest way of making money, so whatever. You would take that and you would start grinding it. So we could do about 60 coins an hour of grinding, and nobody would want to grind that much. So considering that the lightest of items would have been sold for 300 and the higher items are 1,000 and then maybe even 10 or even 20,000 for the legendaries, we were talking about having around to 600,000. That was approximately what everything we had was worth. And once again, we had 2 different accounts which we would switch, because let's say somebody would deny a trade. There was an item the person really had was great, and we tried to do one of the little switches, and then the person would catch on and instantly was like, I don't want to have anything to do with you. You just try to trade me something that was useless for something that's legendary? Are you kidding me? Your thing is worth not even 100 coins and mine is worth 20,000. I'm not trading with you. Anyways, but when we would burn a trail, we would have our second account. So I would run over to the other computer and say, all right, do this, go after that person. So the person would go trade with the other person, and knowing what they had, and we could oftentimes regain the trade because we know what the person was like. We see how intelligent the person really was. Sometimes the kids were really, really dumb. Sometimes they were a little bit smarter. They must have been around 8 years old maybe, instead of just like 6. So they were a little bit smarter, and then we'd oftentimes get the trade anyways, the person not knowing that both of our accounts were like working together to to, scheme this out. Anyways, so considering everything we had about a few thousand hours worth of in-game currency. If you would translate that to real money, let's say, 10,000 hours worth of work. Let's say it's $10 an hour, and you had $10,000 worth, 10,000 hours worth. We're talking about we had approximately $100,000 worth of loot in game. If somebody were to translate all the time and effort it would have taken to grind that amount of money in game, but translate that into the real world, they would have had $100,000 working below minimum wage. That's the level of freaking riches we had. We were emptying servers. We couldn't find anybody that had anything worth to trade anymore. We had the legendaries, we had the rares, we had the uncommons. We had rooms full of uncommons. We had like 2-3 rooms full of uncommons. Rares, we had 2 rooms full of them. And legendaries, we had a few in one of the rare rooms. It was ridiculous. That's the bloody insane, freaking awesome moments that we had when we were working together, both my sisters and I, to get money. And a tremendous amount of pleasure out of these kids. It wasn't about making any more trades. It was about completing the deals. It wasn't about getting these items. We just wanted to trade with these people and get these ridiculous return on investments. And that is how me and my sisters trolled for about $100,000 worth of in-game products. Y'all have a great day.